It is the FTN Fast Break Podcast, Thursday, December 12th, 2024, episode 29. What is going on, everybody? Zach Graham, a.k.a. Kawaisenberg DFS, joined once again by my co-host. It's Adam Pfeiffer. Adam, how we feeling?
My favorite day of the week.
Yeah.
I said it last week. Thursday is kind of my favorite day of the week now, which is weird because it's Friday Eve, but I'm liking Thursdays. I'm busy. We got football tonight. Fantasy playoffs. It's time.
Yep. Week
Also,
15. Yeah.
feeling good about the Steelers' chances of losing, which matters to me now. So.
Yep. All of a sudden, I guess for the first time since the wild card round last year, you care about the Steelers losing. I mean, George Pickens not going to be there against the Eagles. Yikes. But let's talk some hoops here, Adam. The NBA Cup quarterfinals concluded last night after a two-night event. So let's go back to the start of the quarterfinals. Bucks beat the Magic, but a little bit closer than I think you and I expected. 114-109. Giannis does his thing, 37 points, 7 boards, adds on 4 blocks for good measure. I thought Damian Lillard, especially given the matchup, because the Magic are shorthanded, but not in the backcourt, and their defensive backcourt acumen is still very, very high. 28 points, 9 assists on just 15 shots, 10 of 10 from the free throw line. On the Magic side of things, Jalen Suggs did his darndest to get the upset here. 32 points, 9 rebounds, 4 steals, 12 of 26 from the floor. And look, we were all over Cole Anthony in the DFS streets on Tuesday, but it was the Anthony Black game because Cole Anthony, 2 of 12 from the field in like 15 minutes. So he was getting them up there. But Anthony Black, 17.6 boards, 3 assists, 3 steals, and a block in his 32 minutes, 6 of 12 from the field. And again, I think this just highlights, even in the loss, from a Magic perspective, the depth of this team, the strength of this program as a whole, because like not only do they have flexibility to add and subtract pieces both in the front and the backcourt, but like if Anthony Black is able to do this in a big game, and I thought his defense is what he's kind of been known for over his first year and some change here. But if he adds this offensive part of the game consistently, like then you have expendable guys, right? Then Cole Anthony, who has pretty much been taken out of this rotation until absolutely necessary. Like, can they get another piece for a Cole Anthony, somebody else, and some picks? Like, I think even knocked out of the cup here, we know the future is bright in Orlando, but this is just yet another example of this team exceeding expectations, whether they're fully healthy, whether they don't have Paolo, whether they don't have Paolo and Franz now. I think Magic fans have to feel pretty good even in the loss.
Yeah, and we talked about this. Like, there's going to be a stretch here where if they can kind of just hang on, you're going to get this added usage. Like Jalen Suggs, since Paolo, or not since Paolo's been out, but since Franz has now been out, it's like north of 30% usage rate, and he's having these huge games now where he's scoring 30-plus points. The question with him has always been, what's he going to do offensively on a consistent basis? Like, if you're getting these reps from him being more consistent on offense, Anthony Black, I think, is somebody that I really like, who is versatile, who can defend, probably up to 3 positions with his size. Now you're getting these reps and this added responsibility from these guys to when you do get Paolo and Franz back, these guys will be so comfortable that there's probably going to be some possessions where like they can play through these guys a little bit more than they have. And then all of a sudden you have Paolo playing off the ball more and Franz playing off the ball more. And I do agree, like if they can somehow find a way to just stay in that top 6 in the East until at least just Paolo comes back, then you have the ability to maybe work a trade. Like if they can get a stretch 4, like it'd be perfect. I'm trying to think of who that could be. I haven't really looked at trade stuff yet. It's still a little early, but like a stretch 4 for this team would be perfect. But yeah, this is why we've believed that Jamal Mosley, while he maybe shouldn't be 1 or 2, top 5 and coach of the year pretty easily with everything he's dealt with. It just showed. I mean, we both picked Milwaukee to win, but we thought it'd be maybe 8 to 15 point favorites,
Yeah.
and went down to the wire. Dame hit some clutch buckets down the stretch, and yeah, I mean, Dame was really talking them up after the game too. I don't know if you saw this. He was like in his press conference saying he watches a lot of their games and he's a huge fan of everything they have going on there. And he's not surprised that they're still playing well despite missing their two best players. So, yeah, shout out Orlando, and this is like honestly a blessing in disguise because obviously you want your two best players healthy, but to see Suggs take this step, Tristan Da Silva's been good,
Mm-hmm.
and Anthony Black, it's just gonna even make this team look even more deep when
Yep.
these guys get back.
Yeah, and we could heap some praise onto the remaining front court pieces too. I thought Goga Batadze was good in that
Goga's
game.
been
Wendell
really good for
Carter.
like almost a month now.
Yeah. Well, and I think two schedule benefits here over the next couple weeks. Obviously, we're still, I think, 2 weeks away from an update on Paolo, right? From a reevaluation period. And of course, Franz at least 3.5 more weeks here. But they only have 2 games between now and December 19th. So over the next week, like it's not like their schedule is extremely packed here. And of course, they've already had 2 days off. Adam, they also don't leave Orlando until the calendar flips to 2025. So I could also make the argument that the schedule is not friendly because it is definitely not the next 6 games all at home, but Knicks, Thunder, Heat, Celtics, Heat, Knicks before closing out 2024 with the Nets coming to town. So again, kind of some push and pull, some give and take there where like it's a friendly schedule in terms of being home for the next 3 weeks and not having a ton of games packed together. But man, the opponents, that is a gauntlet.
Yeah, but I think they've shown us that they won't be a pushover without those guys.
Yeah. And the Bucks, of course, moving on. The late night game on Tuesday, Mavericks kind of overwhelmed by the Oklahoma City Thunder, 118-104, and overwhelmed defensively, Adam, because Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic combined for just 33 total points between the two. Now, the Mavericks did not have PJ Washington, and Najee Marshall was still recovering from an illness, but this was it felt like a little bit of a statement game by the Thunder because the Thunder don't have Chet Holmgren either. And this game was not very close throughout, at least the second half for me. I thought Oklahoma City controlled this game kind of in all facets. And of course, now they move on to Vegas. So what are your thoughts on the Mavericks bowing out of the Cup here? Again, against the team that they upset in the Western Conference semis.
Yeah, I was actually going to say I think the game probably meant more to Oklahoma City. I don't, I'm obviously not in the locker room with these guys, but I'm sure they saw that in the schedule and said, you know what, last time we played these guys, it didn't go very well. At least last time in a meaningful game. And yeah, like I just continue to talk about the impact Hartenstein's made for this team. Shea's just scoring 25 to 35 points every single night since Chet's been out pretty much. And yeah, defensively with what they can do with Lou Dort, Caruso, Cason Wallace, like, yeah, I picked them to win, but I didn't think it'd be because Luka and Kyrie barely contributed. I thought it would be, I didn't expect them to go out and both have like 40, but yeah, like the Thunder, I still think are very easily a top 3 team in the entire NBA. Probably second, however you feel about Cleveland and Boston. And, Dallas, just bad game. Like if Luka and Kyrie are going to do that, you have no chance of winning, especially against a team as good as the Thunder. So you're on mute.
It's been years. It's been years.
Dude,
that used to be a thing.
It used to be a thing. Yeah, you used to track it.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to help everybody out here because 2 houses down from me, new roof going on that house. So it's a little loud over here in Central Texas. But on Wednesday night, Adam, Hawks upset the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden 108-100. And I thought I had this note in during the game, unsurprisingly, but like fantastic crowd. To me, the best crowd of the 4 quarterfinal games. Of course, these are at home. Semifinals and the Cup final will be out there in Las Vegas. But DeAndre Hunter leads the Hawks with 24 points off the bench, and Trae Young, 22, 5, and 11 assists on 8 of 22 shooting. So could certainly improve in that area. But at the buzzer, rolling some dice as a celebration on the Knicks logo at midcourt. New York, on the other hand, goes 11 of 42 from three. And that cold shooting is really what did them in, because, Adam, I thought in the early parts of that game, Atlanta looked like they were toast. Like, there was one specific play that stood out to me in the first quarter where I think it was Cat had the ball at the nail, and you get McCall Bridges and OG Anunoby both backdoor cut their men on the left wing. Both arrive at the basket at the same time. Cat just kind of threw the ball in their general vicinity. Bridges caught it and laid it in. But, like, when you're getting beat on a backdoor cut by both players on one wing, like, you're having some defensive lapses. But again, the Hawks pull it together. The Knicks go cold from the floor, and now Atlanta advances to Las Vegas. They've won 7 of their last 8 games. You know how I feel about that, with my favorite team controlling their unprotected first-round pick next summer. But the Hawks are on a roll, man, and that was an impressive win. I don't know how else to really analyze it.
I really wanted to pick them, but with the way New York was playing, I did lean them.
Yeah.
Down the stretch of that game, the fear that these fans probably had with this team going into the season were realized when they were just attacking Cat.
Yeah.
The whole down the stretch. And that's going to happen in the playoffs, and it's just they're going to have to outscore teams. And this wasn't a crazy high scoring game or anything like that, but that's the problem you're going to have defensively with Brunson and Cat. Offensively, they've been as good as any duo in the league, but defensively, especially in the playoffs, when you're hunting mismatches every single possession pretty much, it's going to be a thing.
Yeah, so again, it was a big third quarter, 34-18 in favor of the Hawks, that really swung the momentum in this one. Again, I mentioned DeAndre Hunter's big game. Don't want to leave this game in the rear view without also giving props to Onyeka Okongwu, 12 and 11, steal and a block in his 23 minutes. So the double-double off the bench, huge contributions there. And look, man, the Hawks did not shoot well either. They were 41% from the field, 9 of 31 from 3, but they get it done. And a couple, like, just for the fans there, the Knicks fans, gut-wrenching lobs completed there in the final 2 minutes. Just when you're just getting dunked on and the lead continues to slip, the game, the cup slipping from your grasp. Oh, it was a great environment, man. But I do feel for those Knicks fans. In the nightcap, we got this one right, Adam. The Rockets barely knock off the Dubs, 91-90. So just, 91-90, a very 90s score in more ways than one there between the Rockets.
That's
and
what we
Dubs.
call the Amen Thompson effect.
Yeah, there you go. Houston snapping that 15-game losing streak to the Warriors. That predates the pandemic, Adam. February 2020 was the last Houston victory against the Warriors until last night. But just as you imagine on the surface from that final score, horrible offense from both teams in this one. They combined 18 of 65 from 3. But Alperen Şengün gets it done in the paint, 26 and 11, 5 assists and 3 steals, 10 of 18 from the floor. Wiggins was out for the Warriors. And my last note here, and I'll let you go off about him, Amen Thompson is a dude. Not that we didn't know that, but he did it on a national stage last night.
No, you go, because you wrote it in the notes, and I just wanted to point out, like, there was that stretch. It was like a 4-minute stretch where the Warriors just couldn't score. They had multiple 24-second violations, turnovers, and Dylan Brooks, Amen Thompson. Like, that's what this team's capable of doing to these offenses. And yeah, man, they've been fun to watch, and we talked about them I think last week. Like, they're not there with Oklahoma City, but they're a legit top 5 team in the West. This isn't a fluke.
Yeah, I like we said on Monday, man, I think this team can win the cup. Now, again, I do think the toughest test comes in the semifinal against the Thunder. But in terms of the defensive acumen, I think Ime Udoka has this team playing at a level where they can compete and potentially win that game. And just to go off more about Amen Thompson, as we get live here while we're recording, Jason Tatum going to sit out tonight for the Celtics against the Pistons with knee soreness. Amen Thompson, man, what I appreciate about Amen, and then by extension, Ime Udoka and his coaching staff, because they are imparting the way they want Amen Thompson to play to bring out his best qualities. 55% from the field. That's top 20 in the league. He's only shooting 1.2 3-point attempts per game. He's a 30% three-point shooter this year, which is up from just 14% in his rookie season. So if a guy like Amin Thompson can be serviceable, 30% from three, low 30s throughout his career, this is just a guy that's going to have a very long and impactful NBA career because we know what he does on the defensive end. Like, you can go through all of the advanced metrics that we have, and we can cherry pick the number of these that look good. Defensive win shares, 7th in the league. Defensive box plus minus, 10th in the league. Defensive rating, 5th in the league. Amin Thompson is a big reason why this Houston team, in my opinion, has taken a leap. Of course, we could talk about a number of other guys, the veteran leadership of Van Vliet, another step taken by Alperen Şengün in the middle. But Amin Thompson is a guy that routinely is closing games for this team, almost up to 30 minutes last night in this quarterfinal matchup. They're playing a little bit of offense, defense there with him and Jalen Green in these possessions down the stretch, but that's what you like to see in these close games. That was a very playoff-esque environment in the fourth quarter last night, and the Rockets to come out on top. Maybe a questionable call at the very end there to get the Rockets the game-winning free throws, but again, you put yourself in position to benefit from a call like that. I like to see it for Houston from a third-party perspective, but if I'm putting it in my Spurs fandom box, I don't like to see this team doing so well because they are a huge, huge threat, not just to my favorite team, but the entirety of the Western Conference, and they can really double stamp that if they can beat Oklahoma City on Saturday.
Yeah, and also if they do that, or if they don't, they could be a team that makes a move, as we'll talk about shortly.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we call a teaser in the business.
Yeah, there you go. And then also, you mentioned the trade machine. We are 3 days away from the trade ban being lifted. December 15th is the first day that teams who signed players this past offseason can trade them. So with that, let's go and talk about the Miami Heat reportedly now being open to listening to offers on one Jimmy Butler. Now,
apparently, who knows if it's true or not?
Yeah,
Nobody knows.
We'll talk about that. Yeah, so I think the biggest hurdle on the surface is Jimmy Butler is an expiring contract, but he has a player option of $52.4 million for next season. I can think of no real reason why he would turn that down, absent another long-term extension at a more modest number from a new team that he could potentially be traded to. But I think most teams who would ever consider getting Jimmy Butler in a trade, you have to assume he's going to pick up that option. But we also get reports, multiple reports about kind of different things surrounding this initial report on Jimmy Butler being open to a trade. Apparently Jimmy Butler would be okay with a trade to a team like Dallas, a team like Houston. Golden State and Phoenix are also on that list. So two things stand out. Number one, and unsurprising, he wants to go to a contender. I get it. But number two, all of those teams are in the much tougher conference. And I guess we could sit here and debate who's closer to contending. Does Jimmy Butler get them over the hump? But as you alluded to, now we've got bickering between Bernie Lee, who is Jimmy Butler's agent, and Shams Charania, who put out the initial report. Bernie Lee said yesterday on Wednesday, quote, "I gave you a pass," talking to Shams. "I gave you a pass yesterday because I was busy. But if you don't stop putting my name on your complete and utter made-up bullshit because you know you normally aren't worth my time to acknowledge." And then Shams, responding this morning, says, "I 1,000% stand by my reporting. It's fully vetted. And as a professional, that's what I do. That's what I get paid to do. Report truthfully and accurately. That's what this is, period." So we've got agent and beat reporter beef. We've got Jimmy giving us a list of teams. We've got the Heat open to trading him. Adam, are any of these teams going to bite? Of that list of four, who do you think is the most likely team to trade for Jimmy Butler?
So of what? Phoenix, Dallas, Golden State,
and the Rockets.
Probably the Rockets. I think they probably have the best draft. Golden State and Houston have the best capital, I think. We messed with the trade machine before we hopped on. There's some salaries that you can match. Dylan Brooks' salary. You have Steven Adams expiring, Tari Eason expiring. They have the draft picks. I have that Phoenix pick that you mentioned before we hopped in the podcast, which could look good. Phoenix just doesn't have the like. Who the hell is Phoenix going to give up?
Yeah, yeah.
They have nobody. Dallas, I just like Jimmy Butler is always an interesting fit for teams because he's not historically a very good 3-point shooter. He's fine, but he's not somebody you just spot up and have him stand there. That's what his role would be in Dallas. And Jimmy's a guy that likes to go to the basket, hit the mid range, do that patented triple pump fake from the elbow, and like that's just going to get in the way of Luka and some of these guys in the dunker spot. So I don't see the Dallas fit. Phoenix just doesn't have the capital. To me, it's pretty clearly Houston and Golden State. If something does get done, Houston was linked to him last year. Like this, there's definitely smoke here, and I think it's valid. I think Houston's also in a little bit of a crossroads. Like, we're playing well right now. Do we want to mess with things? But at the same time, we're playing well right now. Jimmy's, dude, for whatever reason, I watched more Miami games than any team other than Cleveland. And it's not abnormal for Jimmy to do this in the early part of the regular season. He's coasting so bad right now. Like, his usage rate right now is his lowest since 2013. 2013.
Yeah.
It's like barely 20%. I'm watching them. Their offense literally is Tyler Hero and Bam on dribble handoffs at the top of the key. It's all it is. And Hero's been amazing. I've talked about this a million times. Jimmy's just not part of the offense right now. And with how well Tyler Hero's played, and if there's any sort of doubt that he extends there, like, yeah, I think there's some validity to them trading him. But to me, it's Golden State, it's Houston. Golden State would be fun, though, because I think he would fit that team a little bit. He fit Houston pretty well, too. You have Alperen Şengün and then a bunch of absolute menaces on defense. Good luck.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, too, I think if I'm Houston, I'm doing my due diligence on this, but like...
And I think their GM said as much earlier the week. He said we're always going to look into other teams and contact other teams. So that's kind of like the cliche, basic answer, but I think like you said, I think they should be looking into it at least.
I would land more on the side of what you said, where like, do we really want to mess with this? Like, I think they are on, to a lesser extent, right? Both with the caliber of young talent that they have and their draft capital, the kind of war chest that they're amassing there in Houston of picks. They are kind of OKC Junior at this point, but like the patient route has served Oklahoma City quite well, and I think we are in the midst of seeing it serve the Rockets pretty well here over the last 2 seasons. Adding Jimmy Butler to a team with Amen Thompson doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Obviously, Jimmy brings more of a scoring acumen, more of an offensive threat, but like he doesn't help you spread the floor much more than Amen Thompson already kind of hinders you in that manner when he's out there. And again, then you're thinking probably $52 million to Jimmy Butler next year as well. So you're hamstringing any sort of flexibility you may have this offseason with Steven Adams expiring, Jayshawn Tate, you mentioned Tari Eason as well. And do we want to give up those picks now? Is Jimmy Butler the answer? Is that going to make us a contending team, or can we hold on to our assets, make a move in the summer or a season or 2 down the road? I'm with you. I think Golden State makes the most sense to me from an organizational perspective. Trying to maximize these last few Steph Curry years, Jimmy Butler makes some sense. And then to interject into the Warriors conversation, Brian Windhorst reported that the Warriors are not only looking at potential Jimmy Butler trades, but trying to create a package to entice the Lakers to send them LeBron James. And now, of course, I think LeBron has a no-trade clause.
Listen, I know it's not...
I don't believe he's leaving.
I know it's not... It wouldn't be exactly the same, but as a diehard Cavs and LeBron fan, if he ever went to Golden State, I'd be sick. I know it's not the same as Durant with...
Right.
But it's... I don't care if he's 45 and still playing. Can't do it.
Yeah, dude. They had a party where they brought LeBron's grave out and everything. Like, come on, man. We can't be teammates after that. So we'll keep our eye on Jimmy Butler. Of course, as we inch towards February's trade deadline, we will have at least one show where you and I are sitting here playing around with the trade machine and having some, of course, rational trades that could happen, and then you let me go and get my 5-team trade going. We got to have at least one of those mega trades.
One of these days, one of your insane NBA 2K based 5-team trades is going to hit, and then you'll have to just go play the lottery immediately after.
Yeah, I'll milk it for all it's worth. But let's move on here, and one more piece of news before we get to the games we're eyeing this weekend and our stock up, stock down. Adam, I had to throw this in here. Cleveland Cavaliers, right? We're removed a little bit from the hot start to the season, but
they
still
got 4 losses now. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, I know. It's just everything's crumbling. Only 4 losses. Max Strus will make his season debut this Friday against the Wizards. I know you're a little upset. Evan Mobley, ankle sprain. He's day to day. But look, Strus was a game in, game out starter last year. Started 70 times last season. I believe he was second on the team in plus minus. So this is, again, he may have a little bit of a rocky start coming back from such a lengthy absence. I believe his was a high ankle sprain back in October. But adding Max Strus to a team that has already done this well this season, I think this is a significant boost to the Cavaliers' rotation.
Yeah, watching that Miami game that they lost the other day, Mobley has like an offensive putback. Or no, he goes for an offensive putback and he lands awkwardly, which hurts the ankle. He stays in for a little bit and then doesn't start the second half, doesn't come back in. Miami crushes them on the offensive glass the entire game. Obviously, not having Mobley is going to hurt, but Max Strus has always been a really underrated rebounder at the wing position. And watching that game, like, Sam Merrill tried, but Tyler Hero just absolutely destroyed him. Like, getting Strus is going to help, obviously, plus the spacing, obviously, as well. Yeah, obviously, like, and Okoro was banged up too right now. So any additions to the wing, that's where they've really only been hurt outside of the Mobley injury now. Like, it's been Okoro, Dean Wade just came back recently. Like, they've missed a lot of minutes from their wings, so getting Max Strus back is obviously important.
All right, games we're watching going into the weekend. Just a 3-game slate here on Thursday. And with no Jason Tatum, maybe Pistons at Celtics becomes a little bit more intriguing, but Kings at Pelicans for me, as the Pelicans get a little bit healthier, right? We've got DeJounte, we've got CJ McCollum back, Herb Jones is back, Trey Murphy is fully cleared, still waiting on Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, and Jose Alvarado, but Pelicans sitting at 5-20. Feels like this one is pretty much a must win. If we have any sort of faint hopes, which again, I don't personally have, but you know what they got to be saying in that locker room, right? Kings coming to town here. This is probably a must win for that group. So of the meager selection we have here on Thursday, that's the game I'm looking at. And then on Friday, this caught my eye, Adam. The Sixers are 5.5-point home favorites against the Pacers. So Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, right? Probably all going to be out there. Embiid had a pretty decent game last time out against the Bulls. Is this maybe where we start to see a little bit of a turnaround in Philadelphia?
Not to the same level as the Pelicans, but I feel like it almost has to be, right? Like this is probably the stretch of games where you need to have these guys as, on the floor together as much as possible. And yeah, like, I love basketball. I want to see these 3 guys playing together more often than not. So, and look, there's teams in the East they're better than the Sixers, but like, if I'm a Eastern Conference team, I don't want to play Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey and Paul George.
I agree. And like, I also think basketball in general, being a basketball fan, a fan of the NBA, is more fun when the Sixers fans aren't all doom and gloom and not really paying attention to their team, right? I know we've had like the great Alex Blickel here at FTN, huge Philadelphia fan, right? He didn't give a crap about the Sixers so far this year. Maybe with these guys getting a little bit healthier, they can suck some of the Philly contingent back invested in their Sixers. On Saturday, we have the NBA Cup semifinals out there in Las Vegas. Let's make our predictions now. The first game is going to be 4:30 Eastern, Adam. Bucks and Hawks. Milwaukee are 3.5-point favorites. 231 implied total. Who you got coming out of the Eastern side of the bracket? I know. It's closer than you would have thought.
If I remember correctly, I don't think anybody expected the Pacers to win or to get to the Cup last year, right?
Yeah.
I still think the defensive backcourt issues for Milwaukee I'm going Atlanta.
All right, he goes with the Hawks.
We've talked highly about this team for months.
Yeah.
Let's just ride it out. I'm going Atlanta. I'll do the score too.
Okay.
117 to 112.
Okay. 117 to 112. Adam calling his shot. Hawks to advance.
If that is
to
the final
NBA
score,
Cup.
I don't
My
know.
lottery ticket.
You give me lunch.
Yeah. I will take the Bucks here. I think again, the Bucks, you calling back to last season, we didn't really think that the Bucks were going to do anything but advance to the Cup final out of the East. I think they get it done this year. I think the Bucks still have the best player in this game on the court. And if Dame Lillard is going to play like he did, if they get anything out of Chris Middleton in this bench role, I think the Bucks get it done. But now in the West, Rockets and Thunder, Oklahoma City 5-point favorites, 214.5 implied total. So this one going to be another grind, or at least that's what Vegas is expecting. I said it on the last episode. They won the first game, so I ain't changing. Give me the Rockets, man.
This is simple for me. If I went Milwaukee, I was going to go Houston. I just can't envision Atlanta and Houston, so I'm going to take the Thunder.
Yeah. I think the league might be upset. I think the league's upset anyways that we don't have Steph Curry going to Vegas and we don't have the New York Knicks going to Vegas. But so Adam's got the Hawks and the Thunder. I've got the Bucks and the Rockets. We'll recap the semifinals on Monday's episode. Let's close it out with a little stock up, stock down. We'll start with our stock downs here on episode 29. What do you got?
I debated a couple. Like we've kind of picked on the Lakers a lot lately, which they've obviously been struggling. Some other teams as well, but I was gonna go with the Pelicans too, but that's too easy. You go first. I'm gonna think of a different one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go stock down to the Mavericks getting bounced out of the NBA Cup. Unfortunate timing with the illnesses. Like we were talking about this in the NBA chat in the FTN Fantasy Discord after the game. The way that the Thunder were able to blitz Luka and Kyrie, and they didn't have their kind of pressure release valve that PJ Washington played so well in the postseason last year. I think this game provided a blueprint of success that, again, the Thunder were trying to do some of this last season, but the fact that they were able to do it so successfully with no PJ Washington in there, like I think they continue with this blueprint. Isaiah Hartenstein played such a big role in that game. And like we're talking about trade machine and the deadline and the December 15th cap being lifted on the offseason signings, etc. Well, yeah, but like we know how many picks the Thunder have. Like they don't even need to make a trade to add somebody like, I don't know, Adam, Chet Holmgren back into this rotation. The fact that the Thunder are continuing their success with no Chet, that they won in such convincing fashion, you can put PJ back on the court for the Mavs, put Chet out there, and I think now I'm going to take Oklahoma City more often than not. I think the kind of balance of power in that matchup, which could certainly be a Western Conference Finals preview, I think right now all signs pointing towards, and unsurprisingly pointing towards the Thunder having the upper hand in that matchup. And again, maybe Dallas is a team that we see trying to make a move. Maybe it's not for a Jimmy Butler type, but I don't know, man. Like I haven't been impressed with Clay. When you lose a guy like PJ Washington, I know Najee Marshall was sick, so was Maxi Kleber, but I don't know, man. It's a slight stock down for the Mavericks, but I just thought they should. I expected a better showing than we got, PJ Washington or no. So maybe that's more of a stock up towards the Thunder, but I'm going to give the stock down to the Mavericks.
So I'll stay in the same boat, but with Golden State, just because like they should have won that game. And to do what they did down the stretch offensively, or not do what they did, getting multiple 24-second violations, turning the ball over, like that's. I know Houston defensively is tough, but that's just such a bad look in a game they should have won. I'll also add a stock down potentially for Cleveland and myself if Evan Mobley misses multiple weeks or anything like that, just because he was making an all-star push and he was playing so well. But let's hope it's only 1-2 games. They got Washington tomorrow.
Yeah, they're 17-point favorites.
Yeah, he's not playing, so that's fine. But yeah, hopefully it's just 1-2 games and he's back, because can't have the Cavs without Evan Mobley.
Stock up to close out episode 29. For me, Adam, it is Inside the NBA. Not just that we know now that Inside the NBA will continue, right, with ESPN buying the rights to, I believe, simulcast it after games going forward next season. But we're just getting classic Inside the NBA moments over the last week. We had Shaquille O'Neal walking up to the board after he beat Kenny out of the blocks on their race to the board. He saunters up, gives the board a little slap, and breaks the screen. Okay, so we all had a laugh at that. And then Charles Barkley making a little Jay-Z reference that sent the entire studio into a fit of laughter. I was laughing as well at home. So Inside the NBA, best sports show on television. I don't think there's anything that comes close. And it's my happy place, Adam. Like, no matter what happens in the games that night, I always look forward to staying up for Inside the NBA, and it's been a great week on Inside, so stock up.
I'm one of those people that laughs when other people laugh. It's just contagious for me.
Uh-huh.
And that show is the epitome of that, because anytime Chuck says something and Shaq cannot control his laughter, It's so funny. My stock up is you.
Okay.
Kawhi Leonard returned to practice on Tuesday.
Yeah.
He could return within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So stock up for you. The Clippers playing pretty well. I think Ty Lue is a sneaky coach of the year candidate. I've always loved Ty Lue for obvious reasons. Even when he won the title with the Cavs, any coach with LeBron isn't going to get enough credit, I think. I think Ty Lue didn't get enough credit for what he did with those rotations in that team. But they're playing well. They're right in the middle of things in the West. And Kawhi returned to practice Tuesday. They said he could be back in game action within the next 2 weeks, barring any setbacks, which is always the concern, barring any setbacks with Kawhi. But we're close to getting one of the best two-way players of our lifetime back, which is one of your favorite players ever, I would imagine. So stock up to Zac.
Hey, I'll take that, man. Yeah, Clippers 14-11. They've lost 2 straight, but again, staying afloat without Leonard. And if he is anywhere close to what we saw last of him before, again, he got injured for the 82nd time in his career or whatever, he was playing at an all-star and all-NBA caliber level when we last saw him in the league last season. So if he's anywhere close to that, big boost coming potentially here for the Clippers. That'll wrap up episode 29 of the FTN Fast Break podcast. Adam, anything else for you before we shut it down?
Nope. Again, fantasy football playoffs start tonight for most leagues. So if you have any last-minute questions, check out ftnfantasy.com. Rankings being updated all the time. Articles up all the time as well. Just did the Week 15 podcast, which was pretty long because the bye weeks are done and there's a lot going on this week. So that's up over at FTN as well.
Awesome. Well, everybody, enjoy your weekend. We will do the same, and we'll see you back here on Monday for another episode of the FTN Fast Break podcast. Till then, he's Adam, and I'm Zac. Goodbye.